Hello, everyone. My name is Julia. I am the Communications Assistant for UBC Engineering Vancouver. The topic of today's session is a second year program placement at UBC, where you get placed into the different engineering disciplines that we have to offer. Please feel free to comment with any questions you have so that we can answer them today. Today, we're joined by our current students, Parsa and Matthew, who will be sharing how they decided their program and the placement process that they went through. I'll let them introduce themselves. Parsa, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Parsa. I'm currently I just finished third year in environmental engineering. And yeah, I'll let Matthew introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Matthew Stevenson, and I am in my fifth year after doing 16 months of co-op. I am in computer engineering. I'm Canadian, and I was born in Singapore.
And our last member, Katrina, is here. If you're able to introduce yourself.
For sure. Everyone. My name's Katrina, and I'm in just year in medical engineering at UBC.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Katrina. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. To begin, I'll be talking a little bit about a general placement process. So UBC Engineering has a general first-year program where you'll be taking general classes like math, physics, coding, and chemistry. The purpose of these classes is to ensure you have a strong foundation in your class before you specialize. Another class you'll also be taking is called APSA 100 101, which is an intro to engineering course where you will learn more about a different discipline through various projects. Some of my favorite projects from first year included the cardboard chair project, where you build a fully functional chair from fully just cardboard. Every couple of weeks, you'll also be watching presentations on the different types of engineering disciplines and can also attend open house and panels to learn more. At the end of your first year, you'll rank your programs and submit a personal statement for your first choice program. Programs will take into your consideration grades from your first year, as well as some programs may have additional interviews or steps that you might have to go through. To start off, Katrina, you're in biomedical engineering. Could you tell us a little bit more about what biomedical engineering is?
For sure. Great question, because biomedical engineering is definitely one of the newer disciplines to come to UBC. I think we just graduated our first class of biomedical engineers. But as a description, biomedical engineering is at the cross-section of medicine and engineering in order to create products and therapies that are really useful to improving people's livelihoods. And so this can often mean working with clinicians and helping patients by creating prosthetics as part of biomechanics, different imaging softwares like MRIs as part of systems and signals, analyzing large amounts of genetic data as part of bioinformatics, or creating vaccines and new cellular therapeutics as part of the biocellular kind of concepts under biomedical engineering. So I'm particularly interested in the biocellular context, and I've been working in a lab this past summer at UBC for my co-op, getting to work on creating some T-cell therapies using stem cells. So that's a little intro into biomedical engineering, and I'd be happy to talk about it more if anyone's interested.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's great to hear about what you're doing. What about you, Matthew? Could you explain the computer engineering program?
Yes, I can. So the computer engineering program, often people confuse it with computer science. The difference between computer engineering and computer science, a main one, is that you get to work with hardware and you get to work with electronics while at the same time getting to learn programming like JavaScript and React and all sorts of different architectures like that. I think computer engineering is really great because it allows you to not only learn all the computer science techniques, but it also gives you opportunity in the future if you want to do hardware or do more jobs that aren't just higher level programming, stuff like working with the electronics in your computer and integrating with that and working on all sorts of levels. It's a really great program in that aspect. Another thing about computer engineering is you get to work a lot with the electrical engineers as well, because you take a few similar courses and get to learn a few electrical concepts like transistors, voltage, all sorts of stuff like that. My favorite point of view, my favorite part about computer engineering is there's a lot of jobs and there's a lot of people looking for computer engineers because it teaches you so many valuable skills outside of just learning how to program. You get all sorts of problem solving skills as well. And that's why I think computer engineering is a great discipline.
Yeah, definitely. Great answer. Thanks, Matthew. And Parsa, could you explain what environmental engineering is?
Yeah, for sure. I'll kind of piggyback off Matthew's and talk about problem solving. although in this case, not about computers, but more about the built environment and the nature around us. So in environmental engineering, you take courses that are basically about, the everything around you, air pollution. We study about wastewater, how we treat water, how the water you drink gets treated so it's safe for you and your family. We also take courses about and relevant issues such as climate change and a lot of other interesting courses that I didn't know, like environmental law and environmental justice. Basically, a lot about what you interact with daily, but on a problem solving and engineering level. And we touch on many subjects that are wide and broad, and I'll be happy to explain more as we go.
Yeah, that's actually really fascinating, the stuff you guys are doing in environmental engineering. Now, I'd like also to remind our participants that if you guys have any questions throughout the event, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll be taking them up live with our panelists here. I'll be covering some common questions that students have asked us before. Matthew, could you talk about what you focus on in your personal statement when applying to an engineering discipline?
Yes, I wrote my personal statement a long time ago, so I had to look it up to remember what I wrote in mine. From what I remember is when I was applying to my first year disciplines, like some of you might be doing right now or in the future, is the personal statement only applies to your top choice, the number one that you want to get into. So so you would only want to write it for that specific one. For me, my top choice was computer engineering, and so I wrote it with respect to that. And what I wrote about is I wrote about a variety of things, what I did in high school, what inspired me to initially, because I wanted to do mechanical engineering when I first got into UBC. But after doing all these introductory courses, I ended up loving AppSci 160, which was a programming course. And as a result of that, I went into computer engineering. So I talked about that. Yeah, I just tried to make myself stand out. I was on a design team, so I also mentioned that as well. I wanted to stand out from the hundreds of other applicants trying to get into a discipline. So that was my ultimate goal while writing my my personal statement. Moreover, if you're concerned about the personal statement, I talked to lots of different recruitment people and lots of different people in charge of all the looking at these personal statements. If you want to put it kind of into numerical standards, from what I understood is the personal statement does help you get in and it can give you a big head start to getting in, but it would probably be in the range of a 5 to 10% markup on your overall average for helping you get into programs, is how I understood it when I was applying for things. That's just how I think of it because I'm a very numbers person, but it's a very helpful tool to get into your first choice.
Yeah, that's definitely really reassuring to hear. And it's great to hear about like some of the things you did in your first year and how you found your interest. Turning to Katrina, we get a lot of questions about the pre-biomedical engineering stream, which I know you participated. Could you share a little bit about the program and what it is for students who are not familiar?
Sure, happily. So Pre-Biomedical Engineering Timetable is another timetable that you can take as opposed to the standard timetable most first-year engineers take. And so the big difference for the Pre-Biomedical Engineering Timetable is that it incorporates another chemistry, one less physics, and instead of doing the AppSci courses in your second semester, you instead do some BMeg related courses. So these courses are Introduction to Biomedical Engineering, and they give you an understanding of all of the different streams, although those streams are quickly dissolving. I believe for this upcoming year, we're not having streams anymore, and my year was the last one. But it gives you basically an understanding of all the different aspects of the industry that you can be a part of and the fields that you can be in. The extra chemistry is mainly focused on organic chemistry and also physical chemistry. And a really important point about the pre-biomedical engineering timetable is that If you are at all interested in biomedical engineering, it gives you a real boost if you're interested in doing that as your second year, because firstly, if you get 72% or higher as your average, you are guaranteed a spot into biomedical engineering. So it's not as competitive, and you'll see that reflected if you have been given any charts telling you kind of the averages you need to get into courses. You'll see that BMeg is usually 72%, and that's just because that's our cutoff for guaranteed get-in. And as well, if you're in the pre-biomedical engineering timetable and you decide that BMeg is not for you, you do not have to take any other courses in order to transfer into any other discipline. If you were going from the regular timetable and decided you wanted to take BMeg instead, you would have to take a chemistry course over the summer. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's definitely really helpful to hear about your experiences in BMeg and biomedical engineering. And we actually have a question about that. A student asked, for biomedical engineering, is it possible to switch streams after second year?
Great question. So yes, I've heard of students switching streams after second year for sure. As I mentioned, they're doing away with streams for this incoming group of students. And so that means that you'll have the opportunity to kind of mix and match electives, it sounds like, to be more customizable. But I would say we are kind of becoming more open with our streams. I think you'll be able to mix and match whatever you choose very easily.
Yeah, that's definitely great to hear. And in Parsa, one of the questions I had is, can you give some advice on things first-year engineers can do to find programs that they're interested in?
Yeah, for sure. So as I was told by my friends when I was in high school and they're in engineering, they definitely recommended to join any design teams or any groups. And I definitely suggest that. And now why am I saying design teams? Because they just expose you to the environment which you might potentially want to do as your career. And now in some cases that might help you decide. And in some cases that will just show you some things that you may or may not like. So for me, I joined UBC Orbit. And while UBC Orbit was more related to electrical, maybe even towards EngPhys related, it did teach me a lot about things I do want to do and things I don't want to do. And in general, it's a great experience. I learned teamworking, I learned leadership. I was exposed to a lot of courses, not just that had to do with the discipline I chose, but just in general are interesting in the engineering community. So I think design teams are very important. And there are also volunteering opportunities. There are lots of places you can volunteer and gain experience and gain what you're interested in. And also, as Julia mentioned, AppSci 100 and 101. That was also a big help to kind of identify what you want to do and what not to do. We did the cardboard chair, but my favorite one was rainwater harvesting. And that's kind of when I knew I was more interested maybe in like the civil/environmental field, because I really enjoyed that project and everything made sense. So, there are lots of different venues you can find what you're interested in. It doesn't just have to be design teams, but it could be design team, courses you take, groups you're in, volunteering. There are just lots of ways, and UBC community is great for that.
Yeah, that's definitely really great to hear about kind of like the amazing experiences you have in first year. And we're getting some general questions about what type of engineering should I be doing to get into a certain field, or what the first year is. So in general, like mentioned in AppSci 100 101, you'll be getting weekly presentations about what the different engineering disciplines are. And that's a really great opportunity for you to continue learning more, attend open houses, and as well ask questions to the representatives of the major. And in first year, everyone do a general program where you do your standard math, chemistry, physics course to really get you prepared for the foundational year. And then you'll be applying into second year into your specific engineering discipline. Cool. One of our next question is, what are the advantages for taking Math 120 and Math 121, and would help you in any way? I'm not sure if any of our panelists here are comfortable with kind of that Math 120, 121.
Yeah, I can answer that. Mo, is Math 120, Math 121 honors math? I think that's what it is, right? It's like
Yep.
Math 101, Math 100 honors.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, I have some pretty smart friends who crushed Math 100. I think they got like 99, 98, and they were doing really, really well. And they said that Math 120, Math 121 was very, very, very hard. In my personal opinion, I do not think Math 120 and Math 121 will make you stand out to any discipline. What will make you stand out is you get your 90 in Math 101, and then you also get a really high grade because you aren't spending your entire life taking these honors math courses that are really hard. That's just my 2 cents on how I feel about it. Yeah, if anyone else has an opinion on it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experiences. And I know students who have taken it do agree that it's a lot more work, but if you see yourself as someone who's really interested in proof mathematics or interested in challenging your ability with math, it's a great opportunity to meet like fellow-minded peers. So, but do consider the first year engineering program is very heavy already. Cool. One of our next questions.
Sorry, I'll just jump in really quickly. So from an advising perspective, honors math in first year is not going to change your ability to get into one program versus another, because it is the average that we looked at. So like Matthew mentioned, but it is, if you are super, super interested in math and you love math and you would like to take that, then you are welcome to. And do make sure, if you are considering honors math, that you are looking at the prerequisites to make sure that you're meeting those before registering in those.
And then one of our next question is, how challenging is it to join a design team in first year? And could you talk a little bit about that process as a first year student?
Yeah. Well, if you're in first year and you're trying to apply to a design team, that's awesome. It's extra work, of course, but that's awesome. When you're applying to these design teams, whether it's Formula One, UBC Sailboat, UBC Super Mileage, or any of the dozens on dozens of teams, they want people, and they want first years because they want to make an investment in you. For example, my friend, I joined a design team. I was on UBC Sailboat. My friend, Taher, he joined a design team, UBC Rocket, and now he's the captain. So basically, to summarize what I'm saying is they love first years and they want to take you. What you want to do is you want to show big interest, and you want to like show that you would commit time, because they don't want to get you on the team if you're going to spend an hour there. They want you to actually commit your time and get to learn things so you can be on the team for a long time. So yeah, you just apply to a bunch of different ones you want, and you'll get on one of them for sure.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think it's not too difficult. Just show them that you have an interest and that you're willing to spend time. For example, my design team had a commitment of around like 7 hours on a Saturday. And it was definitely tough for the beginning, but you know, as you get to know the people and the projects, you will also be invested. And as Matthew mentioned, like I eventually made it to the team lead, but then I had to drop out because I had other priorities that I couldn't commit to. So you can definitely go to a team leadership position and showing your commitment. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to spend time and, you know, join a design team.
And just to quickly add on, I also joined a design team in my first year. I joined the Biomedical Engineering student team. And I don't know how many student teams do this, but BEST offered a mentorship program for first years where they add a first year student into a group, and they get to take on smaller tasks and get familiarized with the team. And if they choose to reapply again, they're basically guaranteed to remain in it. So if the design team that you're interested in offers that, I would highly suggest applying for it.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you for sharing all your inputs. And we have kind of general questions about how to succeed in first year, mostly about where you need Calculus 1 to see in Calculus 2 how the course sequence work, and whether they need to know any specific programming languages in high school to get into to be successful in university.
You say programming languages?
Yeah, there was a question about kind of like JavaScript or
Oh.
first pen. If any of you guys want to tackle that question.
Carl, yeah, I knew no programming languages coming in, and now I've had 3 co-op placements, and I'm currently working at UBC as a developer. You need to know nothing, but it does make it harder. In UBC first year, for all of the first years, you'll be doing a course in C, which is AppSci 160. You don't need to know anything. They'll teach you everything you need to know. Yeah, that's for programming.
So I'll just jump in here because I think it's getting a little bit more into registration purposes. So for Math 100 and Math 101 are required courses as part of our first year program. If you're coming in with first year credit for something like Math 100, for example, and you're thinking of skipping Math 100 and just going into Math 101, it's possible. We as advisors do not recommend using your first year credit for math or physics because it is the foundation of your degree. But if that's something you're thinking of, it sounds like Matthew agrees, please do talk with one of our advisors who can help you on that. And then our advice is always register in all of your classes at the time of registration. You can meet with advisors, you can continue to talk with students throughout the summer, and you actually have until the kind of second week in September to drop any classes, as well as the second week in January to drop any classes from term 2. So you can kind of make those decisions later on and don't have to do that now.
For skipping Math 100, I could have skipped Math 100. Just take Math 100 and get your 99 and leave. It also exposes you to how much work you'll have to be doing in Math 101, which is much harder than Math 100. Because for example, in Math 101, I had lots of friends who were struggling, but it's just like it prepares you, right? And it allows you to get a better sense of the math you need to know. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Before we quickly wrap up here, I want to ask if there's a piece of advice you would give yourself if you were in the shoes of our incoming students. Let's start with Parsa.
Yeah, so I think now that I reflect back, and as Matthew kind of said about course management and course load, I think time management and setting yourself up for success is a really important part. Not necessarily in a way that you have to know everything before you go in to first year, but make plans, kind of develop a habit or build a routine to be able to manage it effectively. And you want to be successful, so you should come up with it, and that will also obviously help you in your second year placement, knowing and being on top of everything and planning well ahead of time. I think that's my biggest advice, just time management and keeping up your hard work.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Katrina, what about you?
It's a great question. And so I've thought a little bit about it. And I think as a person going into possibly your first year or experiencing your first year, just having finished it, you had the opportunity to explore the many different engineering disciplines and hear from so many different profs. And I think that that is a really great resource for you if you're still thinking and unsure about what you want to go into as your second year discipline, if that's something you're still thinking about. So I would highly suggest taking advantage of the people who are coming to your classes and the many different events that are probably being held around UBC, either networking or seminars, et cetera, just to hear what's going on in the industry from other professors, just to kind of open your mind a little bit more in case you're still unsure. And always remember that this is not a be all and end all. There's always an opportunity to change, but just go with what you think is the most interesting for you, because at the end, engineering is engineering, and your discipline is just going to allow you to explore something more specific.
Yeah, great piece of advice. Thank you. Matthew, what about you?
I genuinely think the best advice is to relax. You're 20, you're 18, you're 19. It's okay if you got a 45 on a midterm. It's okay if you're not doing well in a course. It's okay to fail, because you might have 99 in high school right now, but everyone who gets into UBC has a 99. So you're not going to be the very best of the best anymore, and that's okay. And to enjoy your university, to learn from failure, to succeed because of your learning. So mine is just be okay with failure and to learn from it, and that will get you very far in school and in life.
Definitely a great piece of advice. I really totally agree with that. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. As we're nearing the end of our time, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. And thank you to Parsa, Katrina, and Matthew for sharing their experiences with us. We hope this session was able to give you a little bit of insight into how the second year placement process works. And you can also continue to ask questions in the Discord group. And you also get a chance to speak to more incoming and current students. So thank you so much for coming today. And I hope everyone have a wonderful evening. And I hope everyone enjoyed their time at the event.